your life can change in a heartbeat. In a tranquil rural village, 19-year-old Kim Ji-soo stands at a crossroads, the sun setting over the fields, a stark contrast to the darkness brewing within her home. With strict parents demanding obedience, her future is mapped out. An arranged marriage to an older man, one who symbolizes all she hopes to escape. Each day feels like a weight pressing on her shoulders, suffocating her dream of a life driven by passion rather than obligation. When she discovers she is pregnant with triplets, a tumultuous wave of emotions washes over her. Fear, confusion, and ultimately, the determination to seize control of her destiny. Deciding to flee the life she knows, Ji-soo gathers her courage and heads to the city, where hope flickers like the neon lights illuminating the streets. Struggling to find her footing, she takes a job at a bustling factory, where the rhythm of machines and the chatter of her fellow workers fill the void left by her previous life. Yet, despite her resilient spirit, the shadows of her past linger, threatening her newfound independence. Unexpectedly, an encounter with Lee Hyun-woo, a cold, ruthless CEO, changes her course. Initially, he barely registers her presence, but destiny takes a twist when he learns of her situation, igniting a flicker of compassion buried beneath his hardened exterior. As their paths entwine, a connection forms amid the chaos. Ji-soo's vulnerability softens Hyun-woo's aloof demeanor. They share fleeting moments, exchanging glances filled with unspoken promises in the cramped break room and lunchtime laughter in the sun-drenched courtyard. Just as things begin to look up, Ji-soo discovers she is pregnant with Hyun-woo's child. The discovery brings waves of anxiety, her past catching up with her, just as she had dared to hope for a brighter future. As her family hunts her down, led by greed and desperate for control, Ji-soo finds comfort in Hyun-woo's relentless protection. He unwaveringly stands by her side against the dark tide of her family's schemes, offering her a sanctuary. Hyun-woo faces a transformation of his own. He begins to see love beyond the confines of ambition and success. Their moments together shape him. Ji-soo's strength becomes his guiding light, disrupting the cold calculations of his world. However, shadows loom larger when Choi Min-ji, Hyun-woo's jealous ex-girlfriend, sees Ji-soo as an obstacle. She concocts elaborate plans to separate them, starting rumors at the factory, aiming to create distrust. Ji-soo feels the tension rising and doubts herself, surrounded by whispers that echo her family's prior manipulation. In a powerful confrontation, Ji-soo confronts Min-ji, declaring that her love for Hyun-woo is real, reasserting her strength. With every word, the girl who once drowned in shame emerges resolute, igniting the warmth of love against the chill of betrayal. As the long-awaited moment arrives, Ji-soo gives birth to triplets, ushering in a whirlwind of joy and exhaustion. Hyun-woo fully embraces his role as a father, and together, they face sleepless nights and overwhelming responsibilities. They learn to navigate this uncharted territory hand in hand, each challenge forging an unbreakable bond. With burgeoning love, they confront their families, revealing the truth of their relationship and the life they've chosen, a fusion of their worlds despite skepticism. The culmination of their journey unfolds in a glorious wedding, surrounded by loved ones, both old and new. Ji-soo, once held captive by the fears of her past, steps into a future crafted by her own choices. Standing opposite Hyun-woo, who now wholeheartedly believes in the magic of love, she sees not just reflections of happiness, but the promise of resilience. Together, they craft a life filled with laughter, deeper connections, and mutual respect, as their triplets coo in their shared embrace. In the tranquil expanse of their new beginnings, Ji-soo realizes that strength does not solely come from overcoming adversity. It blossoms from loving deeply and being brave enough to forge a path untraced. As they celebrate with family and friends, she knows now that her once fractured heart has found a home, and while challenges may still loom on the horizon, they stand together, a united front, against whatever fate may throw their way. Running away can sometimes be the first step toward finding yourself. With a heart full of hope and a stomach twisted in knots, Kim Ji-soo left behind the confines of her rural village, a place steeped in parental expectations that stifled her dreams. The bustling city welcomed her with its dizzying lights and frenetic pace, but beneath its gleaming surface lay a harsh reality. Ji-soo secured a job at a factory, her hands becoming calloused and her spirit worn as she juggled the unrelenting demands of work while grappling with the life growing inside her. The fear of being discovered, of her family learning of her pregnancy, gnawed at her daily, but with every challenge she faced, her resilience only hardened. Days turned into weeks, and amid the cacophony of machines and conversations, Ji-soo inadvertently caught the attention of Lee Hyun-woo. He was a man who embodied ambition, a CEO with an icy demeanor who saw the world as a series of calculated moves. His company was a powerhouse, yet behind the gloss lay a ruthless drive that often left his employees feeling like mere pawns. At first, Hyun-woo dismissed Ji-soo's presence, framing her as just another factory worker. But something about her spirit struck a chord deep within him. One late evening, while she tirelessly folded products, Ji-soo's fragile state became evident when a sudden wave of nausea overcame her. Panicked, she stumbled, and Hyun-woo, who happened to be on the factory floor, rushed to her side. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, she was stripped bare of her bravado. There was something softening within him, igniting an unfamiliar sense of protectiveness. "You shouldn't overwork yourself," he murmured, his voice low and firm. "Take care of yourself." Over the ensuing days, Hyun-woo's concern for Ji-soo grew quietly insistent. He arranged for her to have easier tasks and even checked in on her more often, surprising her with the gentleness hidden beneath his cold exterior. Each interaction, laced with subtle tension, pushed them closer, blurring the lines between employer and employee. Ji-soo, in turn, began to see Hyun-woo not just as a powerful figure, but as a man capable of kindness, even amidst his ambition. Just as hope sparked between them, the unthinkable happened. A rumor surfaced at the factory that her pregnancy involved a powerful man. Choi Min-ji, Hyun-woo's ex-girlfriend, thrived on gossip and jealousy, and she eagerly fueled the flames. Determined to discredit Ji-soo and regain control over Hyun-woo's affections. One day, while Ji-soo was quietly sweeping in the corner, Min-ji confronted her. "You think he'll choose you over someone like me? You're just a mistake he made," she taunted. Ji-soo's defenses flared. "I'm not a mistake. I'm more than just a rumor." "Your efforts to belittle me won't work," she snapped back, surprising even herself with the fierceness of her words. Hyun-woo overheard the exchange and found himself torn. His instincts shouted to protect Ji-soo, yet shadows of his past with Min-ji clouded his judgment. Hurt and confusion clouded Ji-soo's mind but fueled her spirit. Confronted with the choice of retreating back into fear or standing firm in her truth, she chose the latter. That night, she found herself standing at Hyun-woo's office door, uncertainty gnawing at her. He looked up, startled. "Ji-soo?" "Let's talk," she said, her heartbeat steadying as she stepped into his world. In what felt like a delicate dance of revelations, Ji-soo laid bare her fears, her overwhelming desire to build a future for her children, and her refusal to be defined by others' opinions. Hyun-woo, both captivated and shaken, recognized the flicker of determination in her eyes, the same drive that once ignited his ambition. Emotions tangled as he grappled with his own feelings for her, so unlike the robotic existence he had carved for himself. As the weeks passed, their relationship matured, and they faced struggles together. Ji-soo's family, lurking in the shadows, prepared to exploit her vulnerability and the ever-present pressure from Min-ji and the business world. They constantly challenged each other, unraveling the layers of their characters, revealing insecurities, and forging a bond that was becoming undeniable. The day came when Ji-soo had to make a startling choice. On a chaotic evening, her family discovered her whereabouts and demanded she return home, threatening to expose her with a scandalous claim. Sensing the looming danger, Jisoo looked to Hyunwoo, a question lingering unspoken in the air. Would he stand by her side? With determination flashing in his eyes, he took her hand, anchoring her to the strength he had come to admire. Together, they faced Jisoo's family, the confrontation boiling with emotions, betrayal, love, and the search for freedom. It was a raw moment, cathartic and stressful, paving the way for healing between Jisoo and her family as she declared, "I'm not a pawn in your games anymore. I choose my path, and it begins with Hyunwoo and my children." In the weeks that followed, labor and love intertwined as they prepared for a new chapter, the two learning from one another's lives. Their world transformed yet again with the arrival of their child, representing hope, resilience, and a promise for a future born of mutual respect and forged trust. Jisoo stood at the precipice of her new life, no longer a girl running away, but a woman stepping into the light, hand in hand with Hyunwoo, who was finding the warmth of true connection on a journey once marred by isolation. In the end, while uncertainty lingered at the edges, their intertwined destinies filled them both with the quiet understanding that together, they could face anything. Sometimes the person you least want to see becomes the one you can't live without. In the heart of a bustling factory, Kim Jisoo was a beacon of quiet strength, tirelessly working under the harsh fluorescent lights that flickered like her wavering hope. Every day was a grueling repetition, but she remained steadfast, determined to make a life for herself and the children she carried. When Lee Hyunwoo, a cold and commanding CEO, unexpectedly wandered onto the factory floor, their paths collided, with a force that would change them both forever. Hyunwoo's initial irritation was palpable the moment he spotted Jisoo. To him, she was just another cog in the machine, one whose inefficiency disrupted the meticulous rhythm of his operation. As he watched her struggling to keep up with the relentless pace, his annoyance simmered beneath a surface of professional detachment. Yet, moments later, he witnessed her in a more vulnerable light, sweat glistening on her forehead, and determination woven into the fabric of her clothes, signifying a story much deeper than he could see. When Jisoo stumbled, catching a nearby co-worker off guard, Hyunwoo instinctively stepped in. "Are you okay?" His voice, sharp yet laced with an unfamiliar softness, caught her off guard. She nodded quickly, but the brief exchange ignited something in him. Was it concern? Despite his hardened exterior, he couldn't shake off the image of her small frame collapsing under the weight of not just her job, but the secret burden she carried. As the days progressed, their encounters became a delicate dance of tension and intrigue. Hyunwoo found himself drawn to Jisoo's resilience, her fierce dedication piercing through his aloof demeanor like a ray of sunlight. Jisoo, on the other hand, grappled with indecision. Every glance from him ignited a mix of hope and anxiety, a flurry of emotions she couldn't quite understand. Their worlds, so different in every way, began to blur together, stitched by the threads of shared exhaustion and an unspoken connection. But as chance would have it, a sudden twist shattered their fragile equilibrium. Rumors began to swirl throughout the factory, a clear sign that Jisoo's pregnancy had not gone unnoticed. Colleagues whispered, and Hyunwoo found himself on the receiving end of accusations that impacted not only Jisoo's standing, but also reflected poorly on him. "You're fully aware of her situation, aren't you?" one board member questioned, eyes narrowing. "She's a liability." Hyunwoo's protectiveness surged forth, surprising him. "She's not a liability. She's doing her best under circumstances you know nothing about," he responded sharply, sensing that defense veiled deeper feelings. Those words hung in the air, shifting the dynamic between them. He began to acknowledge that behind Jisoo's strong exterior lay a heart contending with relentless obstacles, an existence he was not willing to dismiss. Realizing she could no longer hide, Jisoo confronted Hyunwoo in the factory's break room, her brow furrowed in determination. I know I'm an employee and I don't want to burden you, she started, her voice steady yet trembling slightly. But this is my life. I can handle my own problems. Hyunwoo's gaze softened as he studied her, and an unexpected surge of admiration arose within him. Why do you think you're a burden? You're stronger than you give yourself credit for, he replied, genuine vulnerability creeping into his tone. As they navigated the swirling emotions between them, their connection transformed into an understanding forged through shared hardships. Late-night discussions turned into quiet cups of tea, laughter mingling with the weight of their realities. Jisoo learned that Hyunwoo's success came at a high cost, a constant battle against the expectations placed on him by a society that valued image over substance. For him, her resilience became a source of inspiration, a reminder that strength comes from within, regardless of circumstance. The narrative hit its peak when tension erupted during a critical board meeting. They were faced with the decision to cut workers to save costs, and amidst the heated debate, Jisoo's name was brought up as an option. Hyunwoo felt his heart lurch. No, you won't touch her job, he interjected, stepping forward with an aura of authority and defiance. The surprise of his passion surprised everyone, including Jisoo. At that moment, a realization washed over her. Their connection had evolved into a shared dream of support and trust. When the dust settled, Jisoo took a moment to check on Hyunwoo. Afterward, "Thank you for standing up for me." They stood face to face in the quiet hallway, where shadows cast by flickering lights danced around them. Hyunwoo hesitated, his emotions swirling. "You're worth fighting for, Jisoo. Don't forget that." His words hung heavily in the air, vibrantly alive with promise and possibility. As weeks passed, they both learned to lean into their newfound bond. In a world that had once seemed stifling and bleak, Jisoo found herself slowly emerging from the shadows of her past. Their affection blossomed into something beautiful and unexpected, not without obstacles, but grounded in understanding. Hyunwoo provided the warmth she had long sought, instilling courage within her dreams flickering like stars on a dark night. This collaboration brought a breakthrough, for Jisoo to realize that the journey ahead, filled with challenges, would be far more rewarding if they faced it together. She began to believe in the worth of her struggles, as Hyunwoo helped her navigate a path filled with the uncertainty of motherhood and the realities of city life. Ultimately, as Jisoo prepared to walk her uncertain path, a soft glow emanated from her heart. It was a spark, ignited by the very person who had been her initial obstacle, now transformed into her unwavering source of strength. In a world fraught with challenges and obstacles, they understood that love, like the greatest stories, can often weave the most unlikely connections into a beautiful tapestry. Life has a way of complicating love. In the heart of the city, where dreams often collided with harsh realities, Kim Jisoo found herself in a whirlwind of emotions. After her daring escape from a life dictated by her family's financial greed, she had begun to forge an unexpected path alongside Lee Hyunwoo, a man whose icy demeanor had slowly begun to thaw. However, just when she thought she could breathe, again, life threw a curveball. She discovered she was pregnant with his child. The news sent shockwaves through her already tender heart, intertwining her hopes and fears in a precarious balance. Jisoo became acutely aware of the complexities surrounding her. While the prospect of becoming a mother filled her with both excitement and dread, looming shadows crept closer. Her cruel family had been searching diligently for her, intent on dragging her back to a life built on manipulation and exploitation. The idea of returning, of being forced into a marriage that would annihilate her independence, sent her reeling. One evening, as she stared at her reflection in the cracked mirror of her small apartment, she thought about the life growing within her and the future that lay in wait. Would it echo the pain of her past, or could it transcend it? Hyunwoo sensed the weight on her shoulders, even before Jisoo shared the news. Their shared glances and the uncharacteristic gentleness in his touches revealed a growing bond that neither fully understood yet. On a rainy afternoon, as they walked together under the shelter of his umbrella, the tension broke. "What are you really feeling?" Hyunwoo asked, stopping in front of a coffee shop, his gaze steady yet searching. Jisoo hesitated before finally whispering, "I'm scared. What if they find me? What if they take away everything I've started to build?" As her words hung in the chill of the air, she could see the gears of Hyunwoo's mind turning. Mix of surprise and determination ignited within him. He hadn't fully grasped the depth of her struggles until that moment. "I won't let them. You deserve better," he vowed, the conviction in his voice sending a rush of warmth through her. But could he truly protect her from the very people who sought to reclaim their hold? Days turned into weeks, and Jisoo began to feel the weight of Hyunwoo's silent promise as her belly grew. Tension simmered beneath the surface, and each knock at her door sent her heart racing. She connected with fellow factory workers, building friendships to help lift her spirits, yet her sense of unity was shadowed by fear. When one of her co-workers mentioned that strangers had been asking about her at the factory, Jisoo knew time was running out. Then one night, she received a call from her brother, his voice dripping with the same manipulative charm that had tethered her to their family's whims for too long. "Jisoo, please come home. We just want to help you. You know how much we care," he pleaded. But the irony stung sharply. They didn't want to help. They wanted to control. With trembling hands, she ended the call, her breaths quickening as tears of frustration filled her eyes. Determined to confront her fears, Jisoo sought Hyunwoo once more. As she explained the call in a desperate rush, his expression turned fierce. "We need to act now," he declared, a fire igniting in his blue eyes. They began planning her protection, two allies against the relentless weight of manipulation and greed. What began as a reluctant partnership transformed into something much deeper as they supported each other in unexpected ways. The atmosphere thickened when they stumbled upon a shocking revelation. They learned about a meeting planned by her family with local businessmen, using Jisoo's vulnerability to negotiate a monstrous agreement on her behalf. Hyunwoo's fist clenched around his phone. "We can't let them get away with this," he spat, choosing his words carefully. Their greatest test was at hand, and both knew they could not approach this situation without a careful strategy. As the dawn of the meeting approached, Jisoo felt the weight of anxiety hanging heavily over her. With her heart racing, she realized she couldn't allow her family to dictate her future any longer. "I need to go," she declared, surprising even herself. "I want to face them. I want to take back my life." Hyunwoo's gaze softened, even as worry flickered in his eyes. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" His concern was genuine, a tenderness both new and familiar. "I have to be," she replied, her voice steady now, driven by a newfound strength. "If we don't face them, they'll always have this power over me." At the meeting, a room full of expectant faces, they were precisely as she remembered, imposing and merciless. With Hyunwoo standing resolutely beside her, Jisoo confronted her family, fueled by courage and the protective love she had found in the unlikeliest of places. "I am done being a pawn in your games," she declared firmly, voice unwavering, despite the trembling of her hands. "You can't control this life. It belongs to me." Her family's reactions ranged from disbelief to fury, but her words took root, tearing down barriers she had thought unbreakable. Hyunwoo's unwavering presence served as her anchor, every glance and touch solidifying the bond they had formed amid the chaos. As the meeting concluded, Jisoo felt lighter, unfurling in ways she had never thought possible. The ensuing days were both daunting and invigorating. With each passing moment, she confronted the complexities of motherhood and the differences in her world compared to Hyunwoo's. Yet, it was their shared resolve to love one another amid the chaos that created the foundation for a new kind of life. One built on respect, courage, and fierce protection. Jisoo stood at the threshold of her new beginning, no longer defined by her past, but rather by her choices, each step forward echoing with newfound hope. As she looked at Hyunwoo, she understood that real protection came not just from keeping threats at bay, but from embarking on the journey hand in hand, ready to face whatever lay ahead. And in that union, they discovered something profoundly beautiful, a love worthy of their fight. Love can either lift you up or shatter your dreams. In a small yet industrious corner of the city, Jisoo stood at a crossroads, her heart pounding against the constraints of reality. Just months ago, she had fled the oppressive grasp of her family, and now, the weight of her unfulfilled dreams loomed ever larger. Despite the joy of new beginnings and an unexpected bond with Lee Hyunwoo, the cold-hearted CEO who'd become her ally, she felt the grinding pressure of her ambitions slipping through her fingers. Jisoo longed to resume her studies, to embrace the future she envisioned for herself, but the shadows of doubt hovered ever closer, threatening to extinguish the tiny flame of hope within her. One evening, as Jisoo sat in a makeshift study space, at Hyunwoo's corporate office, surrounded by corporate portraits and the soft hum of fluorescent lights, determination surged within her. Despite the chaos of her life, she was resolved not to let her education slip away. The weight of her responsibilities was heavy, but her longing for knowledge morphed into an unwavering drive as she opened her textbook. Hyunwoo entered the room, a warm cup of tea in each hand. "I thought you could use this," he offered, a rare smile lighting up his otherwise stern features. "Thanks," Jisoo replied, her tone softening. They had grown closer during their shared struggles, each conversation enriching the connection between them, a connection shaded with the vibrant hues of respect and understanding. "I need to catch up on my studies. There's so much I've missed," she confessed, her forehead creasing in worry. Hyunwoo nodded, sitting beside her, turning the pages with practiced ease as he offered to help with whatever material she found challenging. Their evenings turned into ritual study sessions, laughter weaving through challenges as they navigated equations and theories together. Jisoo felt a profound warmth blooming within her. It was more than just camaraderie. Hyunwoo's encouragement and unwavering support began to light up that darkened path she had been treading alone. The subtle yet potent chemistry between them blossomed with each shared laugh and newfound knowledge. Yet beneath the surface of their budding relationship, tensions brewed. Jisoo couldn't ignore the disparity between their worlds, nor the looming threat of her family's demands. As days passed, however, reality knocked fiercely. One fateful morning, a series of angry phone calls from her family shook her from a peaceful slumber. "You can't ignore us forever, Jisoo," yelled her father, his voice like ice. "We know where you are. You're coming back to fulfill your obligation." The ultimatum hung in the air like a dark cloud, threatening to rain down chaos upon her fragile hope. Panic gripped Jisoo. She could practically feel her dreams slipping away. When she shared the news with Hyunwoo later that evening, her voice trembled. "They found me. It's only a matter of time before they come here." Hyunwoo's expression hardened, transforming from concern to steely resolve. "They won't take you back. You deserve to choose your own life," he insisted, the weight of his words grounding her in the moment. In the silence that followed, Jisoo caught a glimpse of the fierce protector behind his cold facade, a man who, beneath his ambition, deeply cared for her autonomy and dreams. Their bond deepened as they strategized together, Hyunwoo diving into tactics that would keep Jisoo safe while she prepared for the threat looming over them. However, uncertainty lingered between them, uncertainty that had always existed in the background. Could they really withstand the force of her family's greed? Each new threat served to tighten the knot of fear in Jisoo's chest as she watched Hyunwoo navigate a world he mastered, a world still so foreign to her. The moment of truth came unexpectedly. At the office, a trusted colleague overheard whispers of Jisoo's whereabouts and, unbeknownst to them, shared the information with her family. unintentionally putting her at greater risk. The phone call came in a frantic wave, plunging Jisoo into a new level of confusion. "The meeting is in an hour. You're being demanded back home." Hyunwoo looked as though he might explode. "This is it, Jisoo. We need to make a choice. We can fight or you can return to them, but you must decide now." Jisoo stood frozen, caught between the two worlds she inhabited. One a sanctuary filled with love and support, the other a cage forged by familial duty and expectations. It was a poignant moment, amplifying the depths of her inner conflict. I want to fight, but I'm scared. What if I lose everything?" she whispered, tears brimming. Hyunwoo stepped closer, empathy washing over him. "You won't lose me, Jisoo. Together we can take a stand. You're not alone in this. I'm with you." His voice echoed sincerity and determination that wrapped around her heart, warming her even amid uncertainty. It was a pivotal moment, infusing her with the courage she needed to defy the chains of expectation that bound her. In the confrontation that followed, Jisoo found herself standing firmly beside Hyunwoo, reclaiming her voice as she defended her choice. "My life is mine to live, not just an obligation for you to control," she declared, her heart pounding with resolve. The fire in her words lit the way for others to understand her choice. Hyunwoo, in that moment, became more than just a protector. He became a partner in every sense of the word. In the aftermath, as the dust settled, Jisoo felt a profound shift within herself. She understood that love doesn't always offer easy answers, but rather the strength to navigate the complexities life created. As she stood hand in hand with Hyunwoo, a quiet determination echoed through her. While their paths remained fraught with challenges, she no longer feared the differences that had once seemed insurmountable. They were allies grounded in a bond that could grow only stronger in adversity. With their hearts intertwined, Jisoo felt a renewed sense of hope, a promise that together they could break free from the expectations of their pasts and face the future, one step at a time. They left behind the chaos, ready to forge a brand new narrative. Love knows no boundaries, but society often erects them. Jisoo stood at the threshold of a world vastly different from her own, her heart racing with anticipation. After months of hard work and determination, she had not only resumed her education with Hyunwoo's support, but also tentatively stepped into his elite social circle. The impressive high-rise buildings that made up Hyunwoo's world loomed above her, glistening in the sun, a constant reminder of the differences between their lives. In the back of her mind, a storm of anxiety brewed. Could her humble beginnings truly fit into his lifestyle, or would she forever be an outsider? Hyunwoo was her steady rock amidst the overwhelming tide of change. As they attended lavish gatherings, Jisoo felt like a fish out of water. With every click of expensive heels on marble floors, she braced herself for the judgmental glances that followed. Faces around her reflected a mix of intrigue, skepticism, and disapproval, particularly from Hyunwoo's high society friends. It was as if they viewed her as a threat to their carefully curated social fabric, an ordinary factory worker daring to breach their elite society. The discomfort intensified when one particularly haughty friend, Minji, condescendingly remarked, "So, you're really the one he chose? It's surprising to see someone like you in a place like this." The sting of her words cut deep, and Jisoo's confidence wavered. Seeing her smile falter, Hyunwoo tightened his grip around her waist, offering silent support. "Don't let them get to you," he whispered, his voice steady yet full of warmth. "You belong here as much as they do." But as Jisoo smiled, in response, she couldn't shake the feeling that acceptance was a fragile thread, waiting to snap under pressure. As weeks turned into months, she devoted herself to her studies, mastering the subjects that had once seemed distant and unattainable. Jisoo blossomed academically, igniting a passion for learning that she hadn't fully realized she possessed. Yet the contrast between her life in the factory and the exclusive functions Hyunwoo attended continued to gnaw at her. Every time they walked into a room, she sensed the wary glances and hushed whispers behind her back. Does he really love her, or is this a temporary fling? She imagined them speculating. One evening, the couple attended a gala, a dazzling affair filled with laughter and twinkling lights. Amidst the swirling gowns and tailored suits, Jisoo felt momentarily enchanted, a brave smile blooming on her face. But when Minji approached them yet again, her facade shifted. "You might want to remember your place," she said pointedly. "This isn't your world, Jisoo." Her words stung, and for a brief moment, Jisoo felt herself crumbling under the weight of her insecurities. In the following days, tensions escalated. Jisoo began to withdraw, avoiding Hyunwoo's carefully planned outings. The joy of their time together dulled when the shadows of doubt surrounded her. Hyunwoo, sensing her distance, confronted her after a particularly challenging dinner party. "What's going on? You've been so quiet lately," he asked, concern etched into his brow. "I just don't feel like I fit in, Hyunwoo," Jisoo admitted, her voice quivering. "Maybe I'm not good enough for your world." The admission hung heavy between them, a troubling revelation that threatened to dismantle the love they had carefully constructed. Hyunwoo's eyes softened with understanding and anguish at her vulnerability. "You're more than good enough," he replied fiercely. "I chose you for a reason. I don't care what they think. Besides, you're not just a factory worker. You're incredibly smart and driven." He took a step closer, capturing her gaze. "I value you for who you are, not where you come from." Jisoo's heart ached with the truth of his words, but fear and doubt still clung to her like a shield. She couldn't shake off. "What if they never accept me?" she breathed. "What if I bring you down?" The turmoil reached its peak when Jisoo received an invitation for a family dinner at Hyunwoo's house, a gathering she viewed as both a blessing and a curse. The internal conflict raged. She both dreaded and longed to take that step. As the evening approached, apprehension bubbled within her, but Hyunwoo's resolute presence anchored her. At the dinner table, the atmosphere was suffocating. Hyunwoo's parents greeted her with polite smiles, though it was clear that they were still warm about their son's choice. Hyunwoo's mother directed questions toward her, probing her background. When she hesitated to divulge the details of her upbringing, Jisoo sensed the critical eye of his father drilling into her. "Are you sure you're ready to stand by our son? This is no light matter," he said, his gaze firm. Jisoo felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, a tightness constricting her chest. But in that tense moment, something clicked within her. Taking a deep breath, she resolved to speak her truth. "I may come from a humble background, but I am here to support myself and Hyunwoo in building a future together. I love him, and he loves me for who I am, not for my past." The room fell silent as her words reverberated through the air. Hyunwoo's hand found hers under the table, squeezing gently, urging her on. She could feel solidarity radiating between them. The tension that filled the space began to dissipate, and slowly she noticed the subtle change in his parents' expressions. While their skepticism didn't vanish completely, respect began to blossom in their eyes. They could see that Jisoo was not only determined, but also fiercely authentic in her love for their son. Slowly, acceptance crept in, and with it, a promise to bridge the divide between their worlds. Eventually, the evening concluded with cautious warmth. Hyunwoo's family began to engage with Jisoo on a deeper level, turning her perceived inadequacies into discussions about their shared values. As she left their home, hand in hand with Hyunwoo, a sense of relief washed over her, the understanding that love could indeed conquer societal barriers. As they stood beneath the soft glow of streetlights, Jisoo felt hope rekindle within her. She had taken a stand, not only for her relationship, but for herself. She could feel the foundation of their love hardening against the uncertainty of their surroundings, ready to withstand whatever challenges came next. While their journey was far from over, that night proved a pivotal moment. Jisoo discovered that she was worthy of love and acceptance, regardless of the world she stepped into. And with that realization, she knew they could navigate the complexities of their evolving relationship together. Everyone has something to prove, but not everyone plays fair. As Jisoo's pregnancy began to show, the complexities of her life intensified. What had started as a thrilling journey with Lee Hyunwoo felt increasingly precarious. Just when she thought she had carved out a place in his world, shadowy hurdles materialized, not least from within her own family, who nagged at her, clinging to the idea of wealth and tradition. Complicating matters further was Choi Minji, Hyunwoo's ambitious ex-girlfriend, whose jealousy seeped into every corner of their lives like an unwelcome fog. Initially, Jisoo focused on preparation for the arrival of their child and balancing her studies, but Minji's relentless scheming threatened to unravel everything. Jisoo first felt the chilling impact when she received a brazen text from Minji, boasting about an upcoming gala where Hyunwoo would be present. "I hope you're ready for a little competition," it read. The words stung, igniting deep-rooted insecurities in Jisoo that she thought she had buried. Determined not to let Minji's taunts derail her, Jisoo leaned into her studies and her relationship with Hyunwoo. Each late-night study session illuminated moments where they connected more profoundly. Hyunwoo often running a gentle hand over the warmth of her growing belly, whispering dreams of the future they would share. But with each tender moment, a dark cloud simmered overhead, reminding her of Minji's ever-watching eyes and plotting mind. At Hyunwoo's next high-class event, Jisoo entered with her heart racing. Though decorated in a beautiful gown that made her feel confident, whispers of judgment from Hyunwoo's peers cut into her senses. She overheard snippets of conversation as she mingled, cold exchanges that mirrored Minji's earlier taunts. "Can you believe she's just a factory worker?" one guest scoffed. Her heart sank, but she held her head high, reminding herself of the love that bound her and Hyunwoo. When Jisoo finally encountered Minji at the gala, it felt like stepping into a lion's den. Dressed in a designer gown that screamed affluence, Minji flashed a predatory smile. "Jisoo! You made it," she cooed Fo sweetly, inspecting her from head to toe as if weighing her worth. "You must be so proud to come out of that little world of yours." Jisoo clenched her fists at her sides, fear giving way to fierce determination. "I may come from a different background, but I'm here to stay," she replied, her voice steady, challenging the very essence of Minji's condescension. Minji laughed lightly, but Jisoo could see the sharpness beneath the surface. "We'll see about that," Minji shot back, her expression darkening before she vanished into the crowd. The next day, while the weight of her encounter lingered, Jisoo found herself facing a new twist in Minji's relentless campaign. During class, word spread that Hyunwoo would be hosting a fundraiser with prominent figures. Jisoo felt anticipation as much as dread. If Minji was attending, she wouldn't give up without a fight. In the days leading up to the event, Jisoo forged ahead, confident that her love and resolve could outrun the shadows. As they prepared for the fundraiser, Hyunwoo noticed Jisoo's discreet withdrawal, the flickering spark in her eyes dimmer than usual. "Are you all right?" he asked one evening, concern etched on his features. "It's just the gala. I'll be fine," Jisoo lied, though her heart raced at the thought of Minji's icy smile. On the night of the fundraiser, as guests mingled under twinkling fairy lights, Jisoo actively engaged those around her, smiling brightly even when confronted by disapproval. But as the evening wore on, she caught sight of Minji slipping into the room, confidence radiating from her like a predator ready to pounce. The chatter in the room settled, as if waiting for the inevitable clash. Jisoo steeled herself, knowing the moment would come. And sure enough, Minji approached her with feigned sweetness. "How special to see you here among all these elite people," she said with a sly smile. I hope you're prepared for the questions that will arise. Minji, Jisoo replied, a steely resolve filling her voice. I may not have your background, but I'm proud of where I come from. And I'm here because Hyunwoo believes in me. Unperturbed, Minji leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. But what would happen if he found someone better? Someone who could truly fit in? You might be surprised how quickly he'd forget you. The insinuation weighed heavily in the air between them, and Jisoo's heart quickened, doubting her. Growth. Could she really stand her ground against someone so fierce? Just as Jisoo felt the ground shift beneath her, Hyunwoo appeared, sensing the tension. Taking Jisoo's hand in his, he directed his serious gaze toward Minji. You need to stop, he said firmly. Jisoo is not only here because of me, she's here because she is capable and deserving of this moment. Beneath the glow of the lights, Jisoo felt a wave of relief flood through her. With Hyunwoo's unwavering support beside her, she realized that love indeed fortified her resolve, granting her a strength she'd often doubted. I'm not going anywhere, Jisoo asserted, her heart racing, emboldened by both fear and courage. As the fundraiser drew to a close, Jisoo and Hyunwoo stepped outside to breathe in the crisp air. Moonlight painted their faces with soft luminescence. The fear that had clenched Jisoo's heart slowly dissipated, replaced by a newfound confidence. You stood by me, Jisoo said, meeting Hyunwoo's gaze. Hyunwoo nodded, a gentle smile breaking through the day's intensity. Always. You are much more than a mere obstacle for Minji. You're my partner. In that moment, Jisoo realized that the path ahead, though fraught with occasional challenges, felt lighter. Together they could defend their love against the brewing storms and preserve the space they had created for themselves. With Minji's machinations only galvanizing their connection, Jisoo understood that she would confront every challenge with Hyunwoo by her side, as equals, partners in both love and resilience. The journey ahead still held uncertainty, but they were ready to seize it together. Sometimes, freedom comes at a price. Just as Jisoo began to feel secure in her new life with Hyunwoo and their impending family, a storm brewed on the horizon. After experiencing the sweet taste of independence and love, the looming shadow of her past was quick to surface, as her family successfully tracked her down with promises that twisted the truth and threats that threatened her newfound world. The bustling city awash in bright lights became suffocating when the phone rang with her mother's voice, loaded with insincere sweetness and manipulation. Jisoo, dear, we've been so worried about you. Your father is ill, and we need you to come home. You don't want to break your family's hearts, do you? Each word dripped with a poison she'd long since learned to recognize. Hyunwoo sensed Jisoo's distress as she hung up, his brow furrowing like a storm cloud gathering overhead. Are you okay? He asked. The ache in her heart began to bloom as she wrestled with what he couldn't see, the fierce battle waging within. They found me, she finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. They want me back. The weeks that followed were fraught with tension. Jisoo struggled to stay strong, filling her days with work and study while fighting. The urge to return and mend the gaps her family had created. Hyunwoo, aware of the mounting pressure, stood resolute beside her, offering tender reassurances beneath the weight of fear. We'll figure this out together, Jisoo. I won't let them take you from me, he affirmed, determination etched in his features. But Minji, ever the manipulator, caught wind of Jisoo's troubles. Sensing an opportunity, she seized it with both hands. Isn't it sad that you have to choose between your family and your boyfriend? She taunted one night, her words sharpened with malice. Jisoo felt an ache in her chest, the insinuation clawing at her insides. You can't possibly think that a factory worker is truly suited for him, Minji continued, her sneer evident. How can you compete with a world you barely understand? The next confrontation came too quickly. Jisoo's family arrived unannounced at her apartment. their eyes full of feigned concern but masked intentions. "We want you back, Jisoo. You don't belong here," her father said, the demand cold and final. "You know how much you mean to the family." Jisoo felt her resolve waver, her emotional ties tugging painfully at her heart. Stepping forward, she took a deep breath and squared her shoulders, her voice unwavering. "What you call home isn't my home anymore. This is my life now, and I am building a future for my children, in a way that doesn't involve you," she declared. Her family's eyes widened in shocked disbelief, and an unfamiliar confidence radiated off her, grounding her even more firmly in her own truth. "That's not your decision to make," her mother shouted, her face a mask of indignation. It was a desperate attempt to regain control, but Jisoo felt ready for this battle, emboldened by Hyunwoo's past support echoing in her mind. Hyunwoo arrived just in time, his presence an anchoring force as he stepped into the room with a determined grace. "She's not going anywhere," he asserted, standing beside Jisoo, their hands interlocking as a powerful display of solidarity. "Jisoo has a right to choose her path and build her life without the fear of being dragged back to a past that was never hers to own." The confrontation intensified, words fired back and forth like a tennis match, but Jisoo felt a wave of clarity wash over her. She was not the frightened girl who had run away. She was a woman fighting for her family and their future. The tension picked up as her family pushed back against Hyunwoo's resolve, angry voices melding in chaos. Minji, lurking in the shadows, watched with satisfaction as the turmoil escalated. In a moment of desperation, the unthinkable happened. Jisoo's father reached into his pocket, pulling out a photograph of the life Jisoo had left behind, a childhood home she could practically smell. "You can have all of this back, Jisoo. Just come home," he urged, his tone betraying the urgency. It was a painful distraction, and for a heartbeat, Jisoo felt the tug of nostalgia and guilt. But then she caught Hyunwoo's eye, a reminder of all she had fought for. "No," she said firmly, regaining her footing. "I'm building a life for my family. Success will not be defined by where I come from, but by where we choose to go." Jisoo's declaration hung in the air, filled with determination, and at that moment, both her family's anger and Minji's taunts faded behind her. In Hyunwoo's gaze, she found unwavering support, an unwavering belief that they could emerge from this storm stronger than before. As her family left, Jisoo felt both the weight of her decision and the invigorating rush of empowerment. It had been a turning point, not just for her, but for Hyunwoo too. They stood together in the shadows of doubt and fear, now bathed in the light of possibility. Hyunwoo drew her into his arms, murmurings of love cascading softly between them. "You are incredible," he breathed, awe mingled with relief in his voice. "We will face whatever comes next together." Jisoo nodded, filled with newfound resolution. This wasn't merely an ending, but a powerful beginning, one that promised hope, love, and the freedom to define her path alongside the man who chose to stand by her, come what may. Life can change in a heartbeat, and in Jisoo's case, it came in threes. The once quiet apartment teemed with energy as Jisoo settled into the whirlwind of motherhood. The birth of her triplets marked both a dream fulfilled and the onset of complexities far beyond her expectations. Nestled in the soft glow of early morning light, the sound of tiny cries filled the room, a symphony of life and love that both thrilled and terrified her. Hyunwoo, her steadfast partner, moved quietly beside her, visibly captivated by the miracle they had created together. As the days passed, reality began to seep into their joyful moments. Jisoo found herself juggling sleepless nights, changing diapers, and navigating the needs of 3 newborns. The world outside faded as she focused on their tiny needs, the urge to reclaim her identity often falling short against the exhausting demands of parenthood. Hyunwoo, always present, lent a steady hand, clocking hours of staring into the tiny, faces that mirrored his own. "You're doing amazing, Jisoo," he reassured her one evening, gently mixing formula as she spilled tears into her arms. "We're a team, remember?" Yet the chaos had a way of bringing latent tensions to the surface. Jisoo often felt as though she was drowning in the new responsibilities, insecurities creeping in with every laugh or thoughtful glance Hyunwoo sent toward the babies. The delicate fabric of their relationship stretched thin as they navigated both the physical and emotional demands of a new family. Minji, who had been watching from the sidelines, seized the opportunity presented when Jisoo's family came for a visit, riding in on a wave of expectation. Jisoo felt the pit of her stomach twist when she saw her mother's concerned expression, mingled with a hint of judgment. "You should have come home," her mother said bluntly, surveying the chaotic scene before her, the scattered toys, and the unpaid bills that piled on the counter. "This isn't how we raised you." "Mom, this is my family now." Jisoo shot back, a mix of anger and sadness flooding her voice. Hyunwoo stood rooted beside her, watching, wary of the tension simmering beneath the surface. Despite the chaos of the room, the weight of history and expectation dominated the air as Jisoo's family confronted her with veiled threats, insisting that she abandon the life she had begun to mold. The turning point came late one night when, after a particularly challenging day, Jisoo found herself alone with Hyunwoo. They sat in silence, surrounded by the sleeping children, the weight of the world heavy on Jisoo's shoulders. "I feel lost," she finally whispered. "I love our kids, but I don't recognize myself anymore." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she let the depth of her struggles come to the surface. Hyunwoo took her hands in his gaze unwavering. "You'll never lose who you are. You're still the same person who fought to build the life we have. Just because we are parents now doesn't mean we can't still support each other's dreams." His sincerity broke through the fog of her doubt, igniting a flicker of hope within her. However, when Minji's carefully laid plans unfolded, it shook the foundation of their fragile happiness. Minji orchestrated a synthetic crisis, spreading rumors among their friends that Jisoo couldn't handle the new duties of motherhood. Hyunwoo's high society peers began to murmur, carefully observing Jisoo's every move with doubtful eyes. The whispers coiled tightly around Jisoo as she felt the weight of expectations thrust upon her shoulders once more. Maybe they were, right? Maybe I'm just a burden, she confessed to Hyunwoo after yet another gathering where judgment stung like 1,000 needles. On the verge of tearing down the walls she had built, a sense of helplessness threatened to overwhelm her. Yet, in that moment of doubt, she felt Hyunwoo pull her close, grounding her as he countered every fear with steadfast determination. "You are not a burden, Jisoo. You are our children's mother, and that is more than enough," he said, his conviction shining brightly against her somber thoughts. It was a pledge, a quiet commitment that resonated within her. The confrontation reached its peak during a lavish dinner hosted by Hyunwoo's family, where the backdrop of underneath conversations threatened to drown them. Jisoo arrived with trepidation, past confrontations seeping into the present. When Minji inevitably appeared, her smug confidence a stark contrast to Jisoo's anxious demeanor, the tension wrapped around them like a shroud. Jisoo took a moment to compose herself before stepping into the fray. "I have chosen this life, and I will fight for it. For my family," she declared, her heart racing. "No more second-guessing or shame. If you can't accept us, then that's your choice." Gasps echoed through the room, and even Hyunwoo's eyes widened in surprise at the intensity of her declaration. She felt a weight lift as she set her boundaries, bolstered by the realization that love encompassed more than obligation. It celebrated independence and growth. And when Hyunwoo walked over, clasping her hand, the significance of that moment solidified a new path forward. Amidst the chaos of parenting, family expectations, and societal pressures, Jisoo began to reforge her identity anew. Perhaps the arrival of the triplets had torn things apart, but it also provided the space for something stronger to emerge. The growing love between Jisoo and Hyunwoo stood resilient, fortified against the storm. As they embraced the night's uncertainty, laughter echoing softly in the background, Jisoo felt a renewed sense of belonging alongside Hyunwoo. Together, they were breaking free from the ties of judgment and embracing an evolving narrative, a journey crafted in love, determination, and acceptance. With their bond solidified, Jisoo was finally ready to step into the light of her new beginnings, one day at a time. Love is a journey, not a destination. As Jisoo and Hyunwoo stood amidst the chaos of their newly emerging family life, they both felt a blend of overwhelming joy and nagging uncertainty. Their triplets brought laughter to their home, but the reality of sleepless nights and relentless responsibilities weighed heavily on the couple's shoulders. Yet, amid the challenges, a dream began to flourish, a wedding. The couple had envisioned a grand celebration, surrounding themselves with family and friends, marking a new chapter in their lives. As they planned their wedding, Jisoo felt a spark of hope ignite within her, a reminder that love can triumph even in the face of adversity. Hyunwoo, whose supportive presence had been a calming force since their children were born, articulated his vision for the day. "This isn't just a wedding. This is our promise to each other and our family," he stated, eyes shining bright with conviction. However, the preparations were often tinged with potential pitfalls. Jisoo was flooded with insecurities as she balanced wedding plans with parenting responsibilities. "Will my family accept this life we've made?" she pondered, anxiety twisting in her stomach. Each time she faced the task of putting together the guest list, she felt the weight of her past creeping into the present. Hyunwoo sensed her struggle and reached for her hand. "We've built something beautiful together against all odds. Trust that our families will see that too," he assured her, pulling her into his embrace. His warmth was a balm against her fears, yet an unsettling reality lingered. Both their families held opinions clouded by skepticism, and the nested worries laced through their love story. As the wedding day approached, Jisoo decided to invite her family, hoping this would bridge the gap between them. However, the fear of their judgment loomed heavily. Meanwhile, Minji was not far from their thoughts, still lingering in the background with her calculated schemes. "Maybe I should reconsider the guest list," Jisoo mused one night, biting her lip in self-doubt. She worried whether inviting her family would cause further discord. "Jisoo," said Hyunwoo, his expression earnest, "no matter what they say, we deserve to celebrate our love. You and the kids are my everything, that's what matters." His reassurance fortified her courage as she realized that their commitment needed to be undeniable, regardless of what others thought. On the day of the wedding, the venue glimmered under twinkling lights, the air saturated with love and anticipation. As Jisoo walked down the aisle, her heart raced, not solely from the beauty surrounding her, but from the acknowledgement that her fears could manifest at any moment. She spotted her family, their expressions unreadable, and Minji standing smug, among well-dressed guests. The ceremony unfolded in sweet harmony. Vows exchanged felt like healing as both partners poured their hearts into each sentence. Yet Jisoo's heart quickened as they turned to face their families. The tension crackled through the air like a charge before a storm. "May I have a word?" Minji interrupted with a sultry smile, her voice dripping with false sweetness. The guests stirred uneasily, awareness of her intentions palpable. The sight of Hyunwoo's clenched jaw and narrowed eyes spoke volumes as he stepped closer to Jisoo, an unspoken promise of defense coursing between them. Jisoo took a breath, irritation and dread grappling for dominance within her. "What do you want, Minji? Today is about our love." Unfazed, Minji's eyes flicked toward the guests, widening in mock astonishment. "Isn't it adorable that a factory worker believes she can belong here? After all, what could you possibly offer Hyunwoo in a world he's destined for?" The statement sliced through the air, each word meticulously designed to provoke an emotional rupture. The guests murmured, and Jisoo could feel their stares intensifying. Doubt seeped in, conflict rising within her. But then she felt Hyunwoo's presence beside her, grounding her. "You don't need to fit into anyone's expectations, Jisoo. You are worth so much more," he said, biting back anger as he turned to face Minji. His voice dripped with authority. "No one defines who my partner is. She has always belonged in my life." With those words, Jisoo's uncertainty began to dissolve. "I won't let you, or anyone else, dictate my worth," she declared, her voice strong and unwavering. "I am more than you can ever see, and I choose this life, our life together." Feeling the support touching her heart, Jisoo turned back to the audience, the weight of their judgment slipping away. In that moment, she felt their love affirming her right to be there. She met Hyunwoo's gaze, the unbreakable bond between them shining brighter than anything Minji could conjure. Laughter mingled with tears, joy intertwining with moments of vulnerability among their loved ones. With Minji no longer in control of the narrative, the emotional tide shifted. As they exchanged their final vows, applause erupted, blending seamlessly with joyous cries of their children, a celebration born of love and resilience. This was not merely a wedding, it was the culmination of their journey, a testament to their growth, the silencing of doubts, and a promise that they would forge ahead no matter what trials lay before them. As the evening unfolded with smiles and dancing, Jisoo and Hyunwoo took comfort in each other's presence, recognizing that this was just the beginning. They had faced adversity and emerged unscathed, stronger, more committed, and unbreakable, in love. And as laughter filled the air and the couple danced with their children cradled in their arms, Jisoo knew their love would continue to triumph over any storm. Today is not just a union, it's a triumph. As the soft strains of music filled the air, Jisoo took a deep breath, her heart racing in rhythm with the steady beat beneath her dress. The light streaming through the stained glass windows cast colorful patterns on the floor, each hue reminding her of the vibrant journey she had undertaken. From a rural girl bound by family expectations to a woman ready to embrace a new life, marked by love and determination. Dressed in a beautiful gown that held whispers of her past, yet promised a brighter future, Jisoo walked slowly down the aisle, her eyes locked on Hyunwoo, waiting at the altar. He looked dapper in a tailored suit, his expression a perfect blend of excitement and solidity. She remembered the hurdles they faced, the struggles against family disapproval, the sleepless nights caring for their triplets, and the insidious whispers of doubt that threatened to sway her confidence. As she approached, their shared glances spoke volumes. In Hyunwoo's eyes, she saw encouragement, and in his gentle smile, a promise that no matter what storms they had faced, they would weather whatever came next together. The onlookers blurred into the background, friends and family who had supported them, and a few who had doubted Jisoo's place in this bright new world. They exchanged vows that echoed the deep roots of their love, weaving past struggles into words that resonated with hope for the future. "I promise to stand by your side," Jisoo said, her voice steady despite the emotion spilling over. "Together, we will build a family grounded in love and understanding." The moment her fingers entwined with Hyunwoo's, she felt the weight of their journey, the sacrifices, the battles, fought not only with others, but within themselves. Tears glistened in the corners of her eyes as she watched Hyunwoo whisper his vows, each sentence a reflection of the trust and partnership they had cultivated. "You are my strength, Jisoo. With you and our children, I have everything I could ever want," he declared with heartfelt sincerity, and the weight of the world seemed to lift momentarily. But, as the officiant pronounced them married, a beautifully joyous moment was laced with a reminder of the complexities they had yet to navigate. Jisoo glanced past the altar and caught sight of her mother's tense expression. A flicker of doubt washed over her. Would they all accept her new life, this new identity she had built with Hyunwoo? or would the past reach out once more to haunt her? As guests erupted in applause, Hyunwoo took Jisoo's hand, leading her to the reception hall, where laughter and music cascaded throughout the air. Yet beneath the surface of celebration, Jisoo noticed Minji's presence lingering at the edge of the room, observing with an inscrutable expression. The weight of her scrutiny sent ripples of doubt through Jisoo, reminding her that the battle against expectations was far from over. Amid joyful toasts and shared smiles, Jisoo felt a familiar tension creeping back in, especially when Minji, unable to resist, made her way over during the festivities. "I never thought you'd actually go through with the wedding," Minji quipped, a false sweetness gracing her words. "You really think you can keep him? A life like this is hardly stable." The grin on Minji's face didn't reach her eyes, and the unmistakable taunt cut through the warmth of the evening. With Hyunwoo by her side, Jisoo stood tall, resilience bubbling within her. "Our family is built on love, not on society's expectations," she retorted, feeling a surge of confidence. "We face challenges together, and we overcome them together." The laughter and banter fell silent around them, and for a moment, Jisoo's moment of steel filled the room. As the reception wore on, she found herself caught in thought, the whirlwind of emotions too overwhelming. Dancing with Hyunwoo brought some comfort, yet in the moments of laughter, she couldn't silence the doubts nagging at the corners of her mind. Would they truly be able to forge a life together amidst the judgments of family and friends? Would their love deepen, or would it fracture under pressure? In the quiet of the evening, Hyunwoo sensed her shift, leading her to a tranquil corner, away from prying eyes. "What's on your mind?" he asked gently, cupping her chin to lift her gaze. "You seem distracted." In that moment, vulnerability surged within Jisoo. What if this whole thing falls apart? What if they don't accept me? What if we can't hold our family together? Hyunwoo, his eyes steady and reassuring, pulled her closer. "No matter what happens outside these walls, remember that we're a team. Love is our foundation. With our children by our side, we can conquer anything. Trust that." The sincerity of his words wrapped around her like a protective embrace. Surrounded by loved ones and a commitment that had weathered storms, Jisoo felt a palpable shift within herself. The waters of uncertainty began to calm. She understood that life wouldn't be devoid of challenges, but with Hyunwoo, she felt capable of facing them head-on. As laughter erupted and music filled the air once more, Jisoo let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. This was a beginning, not only for them, but for their entire family. This marriage, this union, might just reshape the very definitions of love and acceptance in their lives. With one final glance around the room, a smile broke through the remnants of doubt. In that moment, she recognized that while the road ahead remained unpredictable, the foundation of their love would always be their guiding star. Jisoo intertwined her fingers with Hyunwoo's, ready to embark on a timeless love story, one forged in strength, laughter, and the promise of forever. Every ending is but a new beginning waiting to unfold. In a cozy village on the outskirts of the city, Jisoo stood at the threshold of a new life. The challenges of motherhood had transformed her, and as she contemplated her journey from a struggling young woman to a devoted wife and mother, a sense of warmth enveloped her heart. Next to her, Hyunwoo exuded a quiet strength, embodying the love that had come to define their lives together. Days had turned into a seamless routine, filled with the joyful chaos of their triplets and infrequent stolen moments for each other. Jisoo often found herself overwhelmed by the responsibilities suddenly thrust upon her, but with Hyunwoo's unwavering support, she navigated the ups and downs of parenting. "We're in this together," he would remind her, as they shared laughter while managing the chaos. Their bond grew deeper, cemented by shared joy and the trials they faced daily. However, beneath the surface of happiness, insecurities lingered. Jisoo sometimes felt like an imposter, unsure if she could adequately fulfill the roles of wife and mother as well as she hoped. "I'm afraid I'm not doing enough," she confessed to Hyunwoo one evening, their quiet apartment filled with the soft sounds of sleeping babies. "What if we're not enough for them? For each other?" Hyunwoo looked at her, his gaze steady but soft. "You are doing everything you can, Jisoo, and what we have built is enough," he replied. "Just look at our children. They are surrounded by love, laughter, and hope every day." His faith in her kindled something within. Yet the fear of inadequacy nestled deep in her heart, leaving her yearning for validation. Unexpected challenges arose when their families began to weigh in on their lives. Jisoo's family, still clinging to outdated expectations, voiced their opinions on the proper way to raise children. "You need structure," her mother insisted during a visit, shaking her head at the organized chaos of toys and misplaced items spread across the living room. "You can't just let them run wild." The underlying implication hung heavy in the air. Jisoo had to conform to their idea of family or risk losing her roots. It left Jisoo torn. While she valued her family, the pressure to fit their mold weighed heavily on her. In contrast, Hyunwoo's upbringing had prepared him for this fight. His parents were supportive of his choices, urging him to embrace his unique path alongside Jisoo. He could see the struggle within her, and urged her to voice her feelings. "We have to face them together, you know," he said one evening, as they took a moment amidst the cradles. "You deserve to tell them what our family means to you." It was a turning point, and Jisoo's resolve strengthened. Tightening her grip on Hyunwoo's hand, she plotted how to confront her family's expectations with the strength of love behind her. "I won't let them dictate how we should raise our children," she murmured, determination filling her voice. As the day of confrontation approached, the tension in Jisoo's stomach mirrored the heaviness in her heart. With Hyunwoo by her side, she faced her family at a gathering they had organized. The air hummed with anticipation as they settled in the cozy living room, a tableau of worry and expectation. Jisoo stood before her family, fully aware of her change, not merely as a woman prepared for the fight for her union, but as a mother who would defend her children's happiness above all else. "If we're going to be a part of each other's lives, there needs to be understanding and acceptance of who we are," Jisoo boldly declared. The tremor in her voice faded gradually, replaced by fierce clarity as she spoke about the life she and Hyunwoo were building, a life woven together by love and respect for their choices. However, the response was immediate, as her family voiced their disbelief and disappointment. "Are you really going to live your life by the standards of a world that brought you pain?" her mother questioned, bitterness swirling like storm. Clouds in the room. "You're throwing everything away for something uncertain." Hyunwoo stepped forward, unyielding. "Our love is not uncertain. It's real, and Jisoo is not throwing her life away. She's defining it by her own terms," he asserted, locking eyes with Jisoo. The warmth radiated between them as feelings of validation and unity enveloped her, giving her the strength to continue. The weight of uncertainty shifted. Jisoo was fortified by Hyunwoo's unwavering belief in her. The heated discussions unfolded, punctuated by emotional confessions and heartfelt admissions of love. As they confronted differences, the walls began to crack. Jisoo's family slowly grasped the depth of her determination, a determination shaped by the love she had for Hyunwoo and their children. The realization began to dawn on them that judgments born out of fear could be replaced by support rooted in acceptance. "The most important thing is that our family remains happy," Jisoo concluded, her heart pounding with the weight of her truth. A deep silence fell over the room, and as their gazes softened, Jisoo sensed the shift, a fragile yet promising acceptance beginning to bloom. Over the following weeks, the families began to heal, the process slow but meaningful as they sought to understand the new lifestyle embraced by Jisoo and Hyunwoo's family. Conversations grew deeper, relationships strengthened, and with each passing day, Hope filled the spaces once clouded by discomfort and expectation. Amid cuddles from triplets and quiet evenings spent together, Jisoo and Hyunwoo continued to nurture their love and family, confident in their bonds. They discovered there would always be challenges, but within the heart of their union was a strength that allowed them to embrace the uncertain future. As they nestled in their little family, Jisoo felt buoyed by the realization that their story was only beginning, a beautiful narrative marked by resilience, growth, and the unwavering power of love. With Hyunwoo by her side, she was prepared for whatever adventures lay ahead, knowing they would face it all together, hand in hand. Do you believe that love can change even the coldest heart? Share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss more amazing stories.